Aaron was not a soldier, not a hero, not someone who dreamed of grand battles. He was a simple worker on a neutral trade station that floated in space like a silent giant among the stars. His daily routine was ordinary. He woke, ate a basic meal, put on his uniform, and walked through the long steel halls with a cleaning kit in his hand. His duty was to keep the station running and make sure every corner stayed clean. On most days, nobody noticed him. Traders came and went, carrying goods from across the galaxy. Alien diplomats walked with proud steps, speaking in strange languages. Mercenaries stood in corners, tall and armed, watching everyone with sharp eyes. Aaron passed them all without much thought. He believed his life would always remain quiet and unremarkable. But fate changed on a day that began like any other. Aaron was assigned to clean the docking bay where warriors from distant worlds left their ships. The docking bay was vast, filled with the sound of engines cooling down and the heavy steps of armored boots. He carried his cloth and a small device that sprayed a cleaning solution. While moving between the ships, his eyes landed on something unusual. In the corner, resting against a metal support beam, stood a suit of alien armor. It was tall, dark silver in color, with markings across its surface. The armor was larger than any human could wear. Strange glowing lines ran across the plates, dim yet alive. Aaron tilted his head, curious. He had never seen armor left unguarded like that. Warriors usually carried their armor with pride, never letting it out of sight. He walked closer. Dust and marks from battle clung to it. The armor looked neglected, as if someone had returned from a long fight and left it there without care. Aaron frowned. To him, dirt was dirt, no matter if it was on a wall or on armor. His instinct as a cleaner took over. Without hesitation, he reached into his kit, pulled out the cloth, and began wiping the armor. The moment he touched it, he felt the strange texture of the metal. It was smooth yet carried heat, as if it remembered the battles it had fought. Aaron hummed softly to himself as he worked, rubbing away the dust, polishing the glowing lines until they shined brighter. He treated it the same way he treated any tool or machine on the station, with care and patience. Minutes passed. He was lost in his task, unaware of the shadow approaching him. A voice, firm and strong, broke the silence. "What are you doing?" Aaron froze. He slowly turned his head and found himself staring up at a towering figure. She was taller than any human, her skin faintly tinted blue, her eyes sharp like blades. The alien woman wore parts of the same armor he was cleaning, though her helmet was off, revealing her strong features. A long scar ran across her cheek, but it only added to her commanding presence. Aaron's mouth went dry. I was just cleaning," he said carefully. Her gaze dropped to the armor in his hands. For a long moment she did not move. Then her eyes widened slightly. She stepped closer, her expression no longer only stern but also filled with something else. Shock. "Do you know what that means?" she asked, her voice low, almost a whisper. Aaron blinked. "What do you mean? I was only doing my job. It was dirty, so I thought I should stop," she cut him off. Her tone carried weight, a seriousness that pressed on his chest. Around them, a few other aliens noticed the exchange. They slowed their steps, watching with interest. Aaron felt their stares and his confusion grew deeper. The woman placed her hand on the armor he had polished. Her fingers traced the shining line he had just cleaned. She inhaled sharply, as if this simple act had far more meaning than Aaron could ever understand. "This armor is mine," she said. "And you touched it in a way that no stranger should. Among my people, cleaning a warrior's armor is not a small act. It is a sign. A bond. A promise." Aaron stepped back, his eyes widening. "I promise nothing. I did not know. I only cleaned it because that is my work." But her gaze did not soften. Instead, it grew heavier, as if she carried the weight of an ancient tradition. "Ignorance does not erase what has been done. The act is already complete. You have placed yourself within my clan's law. By our custom, you are bound to me now. Aaron's heart raced. He wanted to argue, to explain again that he had no idea what he was doing. Yet the crowd watching made him hesitate. None of them laughed. None looked like they thought it was a mistake. Instead, they looked with quiet respect, even awe. The alien woman's voice grew quieter, almost thoughtful now. You do not understand yet. But you will. You have stepped into something greater than yourself, human. Aaron's hands trembled slightly as he set the cloth down. He had come to the docking bay expecting only another day of cleaning, nothing more. Yet here he was, standing in front of a warrior who spoke as if he had just sworn an oath. He took a slow breath. My name is Aaron, he said, trying to steady himself. The woman looked at him, her sharp eyes narrowing as if she was studying his very soul. I am Vela of the Shelvek, she answered. And now, by your own hand, you stand as my battle bond. The words struck him like a hammer. Aaron did not know what a battle bond meant, but the way the onlookers bowed their heads told him it was not something small. Aaron wanted to shout that this was madness, that it was all a mistake, but no words came. He could only stand frozen, caught between confusion and fear. A simple act of cleaning had turned into something he could not escape. Vela's eyes did not leave his. From this moment on, she said, your life is no longer only your own. Aaron felt the weight of her words settle on him. He did not yet know the full meaning, but deep inside he understood one thing. His quiet life was over. The path ahead would no longer be simple. The docking bay was no longer a place of engines and noise. It had turned into a stage where many eyes were fixed on Aaron and the alien warrior named Vela. For the first time in his life, Aaron felt the weight of so many strangers watching him. His hands were still shaking, and his cloth lay forgotten at his feet. Vela stood tall, her presence strong like iron, and her voice carried power. Human, you touched my armor. You cleaned it with care. Do you understand what you have done? Aaron shook his head quickly. No, I do not understand anything. I thought it was just dust. I clean dust. That is all I do. Vela's eyes narrowed. Dust to you is honor to us. Armor is not a tool to my people. It is a warrior's soul made metal. To touch it, to polish it, is to share in that soul. By our ancient law, you have bound yourself to me. Aaron blinked in disbelief. His chest tightened. I did not know. How can something I did without meaning carry such weight? The crowd murmured softly. Some aliens shook their heads as if they pitied his ignorance. Others nodded with respect, as if this strange human had performed an act of courage. Aaron could not tell which was worse. Vela stepped closer, lowering her voice so that only he could hear. Whether you knew or not does not matter. The bond has been witnessed. To refuse it now would not only shame me but insult my clan. If I am dishonored, they will come for you. Do you see why you cannot walk away? Aaron felt a chill run through his body. He had always thought of himself as careful, someone who avoided trouble, someone who lived in the quiet shadows of the station. Now trouble had found him in the most unexpected way. He swallowed hard. I never wanted this. I just wanted to do my job. Vela's eyes softened for a moment, though her face still held its warrior's pride. Perhaps fate chose you. Or perhaps your human hands carried meaning you did not see. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder. An older alien in heavy armor approached, his steps slow but commanding. His skin was darker blue than Vela's, and his eyes burned with wisdom. He looked at Aaron with careful judgment. This human, he said, has touched the armor of Vela. He has polished it with respect. The bond is sealed. Shall we deny tradition because he claims ignorance? The crowd answered with one voice. No. Aaron's knees felt weak. He whispered to himself, this cannot be real. The elder looked at Vela and nodded. The law holds. He is yours to protect, and he must stand with you as bond partner. If he runs from us all. Vela bowed her head in respect to the elder, then turned back to Aaron. There is no mistake. What you did carries meaning beyond your small world. You must walk this path now. Aaron stared at her, trying to read her expression. She looked serious, but not cruel. It was as if she did not wish this for him either, yet she accepted it as her duty. He took a shaky breath. And if I fail, what happens then? Vela's gaze sharpened. If you fail, I fail. If you dishonor yourself, I carry that dishonor. Our fates are tied. That is why I must train you. The word train made Aaron's stomach twist. He was not built for battle. His hands were more skilled at fixing broken machines, cleaning clogged vents, and patching walls than holding weapons. He imagined himself standing in a line of armored warriors, and the image almost made him laugh. Yet no laughter came. The weight of the situation pressed too hard. The elder raised his hand, calling for silence. Let it be written. The human Aaron is bound to Vela of the Shelvek. Their bond begins now. The crowd bowed their heads. Aaron looked around in disbelief, but there was no escape. He wanted to shout that he was not part of this, that it was all wrong, but the eyes watching him burned that thought away. After the elder left, Vela motioned for him to follow. Aaron obeyed, his feet moving like stone. They left the docking bay and entered the quieter halls of the station. The noise of ships faded, replaced by the hum of machines and the soft flicker of lights. Aaron finally spoke again, his voice tense. Why me? Why not someone else? Someone who actually knows how to fight? Vela glanced at him. Because you touched the armor. Tradition is not a choice. It is law. My people live by honor, and honor does not bend for convenience. Aaron clenched his fists. But I am not ready for this. I do not even know what a bond partner is supposed to do. Vela stopped walking. She turned to him fully, her eyes burning with a quiet fire. You will learn. A bond partner stands at the side of the warrior. He gives strength where the warrior cannot. He shares in every challenge, every risk, every victory. To clean armor is to promise that you will protect the warrior as much as she protects you. Aaron's throat felt dry. But I cannot fight. Vela studied him for a long moment, then said, perhaps not yet. But fighting is not only with weapons. Fighting is also with mind, with heart, with spirit. Humans are clever. I have seen it before. That is why you may succeed. Her words carried weight, but they did little to calm the storm inside him. Aaron still felt like a man thrown into deep waters without knowing how to swim. They walked again until they reached a quiet chamber. It was dim, filled with alien symbols carved into the walls. Vela placed her hand on one of the carvings, and the room lit with soft blue light. This will be your place now, she said. You will stay near me. You will learn our ways. The bond cannot be broken. Aaron looked around, feeling like a prisoner even though no chains held him. The room was not unkind, but it was not home either. He sat down heavily on the edge of a low bench. His thoughts raced. Only this morning, he had been a cleaner, just another human on a busy station. Now he was something else, though he did not yet know what that truly meant. Vela stood in the doorway, watching him. For the first time, her voice softened. I know this is hard. But you must understand. What you see as a mistake, we see as destiny. Aaron lifted his head and met her eyes. He wanted to argue, to shout, to demand freedom, but instead he only asked, and if I refuse? Vela's face grew firm again. If you refuse, my clan will come for you. They will see your act as insult, not accident. You will not survive their anger. To accept is the only path. The truth of her words hit him like a heavy stone. There was no escape. The mistake he thought he made was no mistake at all. It was now his life. Aaron closed his eyes, breathing slowly, trying to calm the storm inside him. When he opened them again, he saw Vela still standing there, waiting, patient and unshaken. For the first time, he realized something. She was not only binding him to her. She was binding herself to him as well. Aaron could not sleep that night. He sat on the bench in the dim chamber, staring at the glowing carvings on the walls. His mind spun in circles. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Vela's sharp gaze, the silent crowd in the docking bay, and the heavy voice of the elder declaring the bond. He told himself again and again that this was not real, that tomorrow someone would laugh and say it was a misunderstanding. But deep inside, he knew the truth. The way the others had bowed their heads, the way Vela herself carried the weight of honor, all of it showed that this tradition was carved into their lives as deep as stone. Morning came slowly, though there was no sun in the endless halls of the station. Only the change of light strips told the difference between day and night. When the chamber door opened, Aaron lifted his head. Vela stood there, fully armored except for her helmet. Her presence filled the room like a storm cloud. "Come," she said simply. Aaron followed without argument. His legs felt heavy, but his curiosity pulled him forward. They walked through long halls until they entered a quiet training hall. The air smelled faintly of metal and dust. The floor was marked with scratches from weapons. Tall racks held strange blades, staffs, and training armor. Vela turned to face him. "Today you will learn the truth of what you are now." Aaron swallowed. "I do not think I want to learn." Her eyes narrowed, but not with anger. Instead, it was patience mixed with firmness. "Wanting is not the question. You already stepped into this. Now you must walk forward." She motioned for him to sit. Aaron sat cross-legged on the floor while she remained standing tall. "In my people's history," Vela began, her voice carrying the weight of a teacher, "armor is more than protection. It is the body of the warrior's spirit. When someone cleans that armor, it means they share in the spirit. It is an oath without words, binding two lives together. You, human, touched my armor. You cleaned it as if you were honoring me. Whether you meant it or not, the law sees no difference. The bond was made." Aaron lowered his head. "But I did not know. How can a law be fair if it traps someone by accident?" Vela's gaze hardened. "Fairness is not the measure. Honor is the measure. My people believe the universe chooses paths for us. Sometimes we do not understand them. But once a path is taken, it must be walked with strength." Aaron clenched his fists. "So now I am what exactly? Your servant, your prisoner?" For the first time, Vela's lips curved into something close to a smile, though it carried no humor. "Not servant. Not prisoner. Bond partner. In my tongue we call it Sharvek Tal. It means two who face the storm as one. When I fight, you stand beside me. When I fall, you rise with me. When you falter, I lift you." Aaron stared at her in disbelief. "But I cannot fight. I fix machines. I clean. I know nothing about war." Vela stepped closer, her armor gleaming in the training hall light. "That is why you will learn. The bond does not ask what you were. It demands what you must become." Aaron felt his stomach twist. He looked around at the racks of weapons, sharp and heavy. None of them belonged in his hands. Yet Vela spoke as if it was already decided. Seeing his hesitation, she softened her tone. "Listen, human. My people hold tradition above all. If you break the bond, if you refuse, you not only dishonor me. You dishonor my clan, my ancestors, and all who walk with us. That insult cannot be forgiven. The punishment would fall upon you without mercy." Aaron's eyes widened. "You mean they would come after me?" Vela nodded once. "Yes. And the station would not protect you. Even your own kind would step aside, for they respect our customs." The weight of her words pressed on him. There was no running. No hiding. The only choice left was forward. Aaron let out a long breath. So what now? What do you expect me to do? Vela gestured toward the center of the hall. Stand with me. Today, you begin training. Aaron shook his head quickly. No, no. I will embarrass myself. I will fail. She looked at him steadily. Failure is part of growth. But dishonor is death. Which do you choose? Reluctantly, Aaron stood. His legs felt weak, but he walked to the center. Vela followed, carrying 2 wooden staffs. She handed one to him. Hold it, she instructed. Aaron gripped the staff clumsily. It felt heavy in his hands. Vela raised hers with ease, her movements precise and graceful. Now strike, she commanded. Aaron blinked. Strike you? Yes. Strike? Do not think. Act. He swung awkwardly. The staff barely cut the air before Vela blocked it with a swift motion, the crack of wood echoing through the hall. She pushed him back, but not with full strength. Again, she said. Aaron tried again, his swing no better. She blocked easily. His arms ached. Sweat formed on his brow. Again, she repeated. He swung again and again, each time blocked. His breath grew heavy, his body tired. At last he dropped the staff, gasping. I cannot. I am not built for this. Vela lowered her staff. She studied him quietly. Then she said, You are weak now. That is true. But strength can be built. Skill can be learned. And weakness does not mean uselessness. Aaron looked up at her, surprised by her words. She continued, Do you think warriors only win by strength? Warriors win by cunning, by knowing the ground, by using what others cannot see. Perhaps you cannot lift a blade with power, but you may see paths I cannot. That is why the bond exists. To complete each other. Her voice carried sincerity that touched something in him. For the first time, he saw her not only as a warrior forcing him into tradition, but also as someone who believed deeply in the bond's meaning. Aaron picked up the staff again, though his arms shook. Then I will try, he said quietly. Vela nodded. Good. That is the first step. Effort is the seed. From it grows skill. The training continued, with Aaron stumbling, falling, and failing. Yet each time, Vela made him rise again. Her patience surprised him. Though strict, she did not mock him. She guided, corrected, and explained. By the end of the session, Aaron could barely stand. His arms felt like lead, his chest burned, and sweat soaked his shirt. Yet inside, a strange spark grew. He had survived. He had not quit. As they left the hall, Vela looked at him and said, You are not ready to fight. But today you showed courage. That is the first strength of a bond partner. Aaron walked beside her, exhausted but thoughtful. The pact was still a prison to him, but slowly, a question formed in his heart. Perhaps it was not only a curse. Perhaps, in some strange way, it could become something more. The next days became a storm of lessons for Aaron. He had thought his life was simple before: wake, clean, repair, rest, but now his every hour was shaped by Vela. She trained him with discipline so sharp it left no space for excuses. Each morning, before the station's main lights brightened to mark the day, Vela called him to the training hall. At first Aaron dragged his feet, half asleep, his body sore from the day before. But her stern gaze allowed no delay. She moved like a shadow of steel, her steps precise, her voice commanding. Again, she said each time his staff slipped from his hands. Again, she said each time he fell onto the hard floor. Aaron groaned and sweated, his arms trembling, his chest burning. He thought many times of giving up, yet something about her presence held him in place. She never praised him, but she never mocked him either. She treated his weakness as part of a journey rather than a shame. Still, training with weapons was only one part. Vela also showed him how to move with speed. She made him run through the long halls of the station until his lungs screamed. She made him jump, dodge, and roll until bruises covered his arms and legs. Aaron hated it, yet slowly, his body began to change. One morning, after a long run, he realized he could breathe more easily than before. His legs, though tired, did not collapse. For the first time, he felt the faint spark of strength inside him. But it was not only his body that Vela shaped. She tested his mind too. "Tell me," she asked one day as they sat in the chamber, resting after training. "What do you see when you look at a locked door?" Aaron frowned. "A door that needs a key." Vela shook her head. "A warrior sees more. She sees the hinges, the weakness in the frame, the chance to break through." "What do you see, human?" Aaron thought for a moment. "I see the circuits in the panel. If power is cut, the lock fails. If wires are crossed, the door opens." Vela's eyes lit faintly. "Yes. That is why you are useful. You see what I do not. You fight not with muscle, but with mind." That small moment of respect gave Aaron a strange warmth. For once, he was not only the weak human struggling to keep up. He had something that mattered. The more time he spent with Vela, the more he noticed her different sides. In battle training she was fierce, her movements sharp and her voice demanding. But in rare quiet moments, she showed patience, even kindness. She explained her people's traditions carefully, teaching him their meaning. She told him about the Shelvek, her clan. They were a proud people who valued strength and loyalty above all. Every warrior carried armor passed down through generations, each mark on the plates telling a story of battles fought and victories earned. To clean such armor was to honor not only the warrior, but the ancestors who had worn it before. Aaron listened with a mix of awe and worry. He had never thought of a simple act of cleaning as something sacred. Now he understood why Vela had reacted with such intensity. At night, when he returned to the chamber, he often lay awake thinking about her words. He was no warrior. He had never dreamed of honor or tradition. Yet here he was, bound by both. One evening, after a long day of training, Vela placed a small metal plate in front of him. Strange marks were carved across it. "What is this?" Aaron asked. "It is the mark of our bond," Vela explained. "Every pair carries one. It shows that your life and mine are tied together." Aaron touched the plate with his fingers. The metal felt cold but heavy with meaning. He looked at Vela and asked quietly, "Do you trust me?" She paused before answering. "Not yet. Trust is not given. It is built. But you are on the path." Her honesty stung a little, yet Aaron respected it. She did not lie to comfort him. She spoke truth, even if it was hard. Days turned into weeks. Aaron grew stronger. He could hold the staff longer, move faster, and strike with more focus. He still lost every sparring match, but now he lasted longer before falling. Each time he rose again, Vela gave the smallest nod of approval, and that was enough to push him further. But training was not only about fighting. One afternoon, Vela took him to the observation deck, where the stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass. She pointed at them, her voice calm. "Every star is a fire," she said. "Every fire gives life, but also burns. A warrior must know when to be the flame and when to be the light. You, Aaron, must learn this too." Aaron followed her gaze. For the first time since the bond began, he felt something shift inside him. He was not only trapped anymore. He was learning, changing, growing into something he had never imagined. One night, he found himself smiling as he cleaned a broken panel in their chamber. He realized he had not thought about escape all day. Instead, he thought about how to improve in tomorrow's training. Vela noticed. "You are different," she said. Aaron shrugged. "Maybe I am getting used to this." She tilted her head, studying him. Perhaps. Or perhaps you are beginning to see what I saw when the bond formed. Aaron raised his brows. And what did you see? Vela gave a rare small smile. Potential. Her words stayed with him long after she left the room. Training was still hard, and fear still lived in his chest, but Aaron began to see the bond not only as a prison but as a chance. A chance to grow, to prove himself, to stand beside someone who lived by honor. The station had been quiet for several days. Aaron had begun to find a rhythm in his new life. He woke early, trained with Vela, studied the ways of her people, and even began to enjoy small moments of routine. The once overwhelming bond felt a little lighter as he slowly learned how to move, think, and react like a partner to a warrior. Then the alarms sounded. Red lights flashed across the corridors, and a loud siren echoed through the station. Aaron's heart raced. Vela appeared instantly, fully armored, her staff in hand, her eyes sharp and alert. "Raiders," she said, her voice low but firm. "They have breached the outer docking bay. We must protect the station." Aaron froze. He had seen danger in training, in controlled exercises. But now it was real. The hum of engines and the distant sound of metal clashing made the air tense. He looked at Vela, searching for instructions. "You will stand with me," she said simply. "No human can hide now. The bond is alive. You fight with me, or you are useless." Aaron swallowed hard. "I cannot fight," he whispered. Vela's eyes softened only slightly. "Fight is not only with strength. Fight is with mind. Use what you know. You see what I cannot. You can be my advantage." Aaron nodded, though he was not sure what he could do. He had spent weeks learning to swing a staff and move quickly. That knowledge was little compared to Vela's skill, but he knew she trusted him. That thought steadied him. They reached the outer docking bay. The raiders had arrived in small ships, moving swiftly, boarding the station with speed and precision. Their weapons glowed, and their armor was dark and menacing. They shouted in a language Aaron did not understand, but the threat was clear. Vela charged forward without hesitation. Her staff spun and struck with deadly precision, knocking raiders aside, forcing them back. Aaron watched, feeling a mix of fear and awe. He wanted to help but did not know how. Then he noticed something. The raiders had come in through several doors, but the panel controlling the docking bay doors was exposed. If he could disable it, they could trap the raiders outside. His mind raced. He knew the circuits from his days as a maintenance worker. "Vela," he shouted over the clashing weapons, "I can stop them at the doors. Give me a chance." She turned, her staff ready, and nodded once. "Do it. Protect the station." Aaron ran toward the control panel, his hands shaking. He bypassed a few locks and cut the main power flow. Sparks flew, and alarms changed their tone. One by one, the docking bay doors closed, sealing the raiders outside. Some of them pounded on the metal, shouting angrily, but they could not get in. Vela saw what he had done. She moved quickly to block the raiders who tried to climb the walls, her staff a blur. She glanced at Aaron and gave a small nod. He had acted cleverly, using his knowledge to turn the tide. The battle continued. Some raiders tried to break through the walls and hatches. Vela fought fiercely, deflecting strikes and protecting the station's crew. Aaron stayed close, using what he had learned in training. He moved quickly, guided by instinct, and sometimes improvised traps from loose panels and tools around him. Every action, though small, slowed the raiders and kept the crew safe. At one point, a raider aimed a weapon at Vela from above. Aaron acted without thinking. He grabbed a loose cable from the ceiling and swung it like a whip, knocking the raider off balance. Vela smirked, just slightly, a rare sign of approval. Time felt endless. The station shook with the force of the raiders' attacks. Aaron's arms ached, his lungs burned, but he did not stop. Every move he made was a small contribution, but together with Vela's skill, it was enough. Finally, the raiders began to retreat. Their ships disengaged, and the flashing lights dimmed. The station's crew emerged from hiding, watching the aftermath. Aaron leaned against a wall, exhausted but alive. He had survived his first real battle. Vela approached him. Her staff was lowered, but her eyes still carried intensity. "You did well," she said simply. Aaron shook his head, disbelief clear in his voice. "I was lucky. I only used what I knew." She studied him carefully. "No human has faced raiders in their first trial and contributed as you did. You were clever. You saw the weakness I could not see. That is the strength of a bond partner. You are beginning to understand." Aaron looked down at his hands. They were scraped and bruised. Sweat ran down his face. His body was trembling, but for the first time, he felt a strange pride. He had not run. He had not hidden. He had acted. The other aliens who had watched approached cautiously. Some bowed their heads in respect. Others simply stared at him, surprised that a human could help turn the tide of battle. Aaron realized that in a short time, he had earned a small measure of respect. Vela touched his shoulder briefly. "You are no longer just a human worker. You are my bond partner. Today, you proved that the bond carries meaning. Not only tradition, but action. You acted as part of the fight, and you were valuable." Aaron could not speak at first. The weight of her words sank in slowly. For weeks, he had trained, struggled, doubted himself. Today, he had used all that training in a real crisis and survived. Not only survived, but he had helped. He finally found his voice. I never thought I could do this." Vela nodded. "Few humans could. But you are learning. And that is why the bond exists. To grow together, to support each other in ways that one alone cannot achieve." The station's alarms finally stopped. The raiders were gone. The crew began repairs on minor damage, but the larger threat was over. Aaron and Vela stood in the center of the docking bay, their breaths heavy, their bodies bruised and tired. For the first time, Aaron realized something important. The bond was not a trap. It was a challenge, a chance to be more than he had ever imagined. He was still weak, still learning, but he had done something meaningful. Vela glanced at him. "Rest now. Tomorrow we continue. More challenges will come. You must be ready." Aaron nodded silently. He felt tired, but not broken. Something had changed inside him. The bond was no longer only a duty forced upon him. It was becoming a purpose, a way to prove himself in ways he had never thought possible. As he sat quietly, watching Vela inspect the station and organize the crew, he allowed himself a small thought, almost a smile. Perhaps this strange accident that bound him to a warrior was not the end of his life. Perhaps it was the beginning. The battle had ended, but the station was far from calm. Repairs were underway, systems were being checked, and the crew moved with quiet urgency. Yet amidst the clatter of machines and the hum of engines, a new atmosphere had taken hold. There was respect for the bond between Vela and Aaron, an unspoken acknowledgement of what had just occurred. Aaron felt exhausted. His muscles ached, his clothes were torn, and his hands were bruised. Every step toward the training chamber was heavy. Yet, for the first time, he walked with a sense of pride. He had survived a real attack. He had acted wisely. And he had contributed in a way that even Vela had not expected from a human. When they reached the hall where warriors of Vela's clan often gathered, Aaron noticed a few of the older Shelvek warriors waiting. Their armor was polished and sharp, their expressions serious. They regarded him with quiet scrutiny, eyes narrowing as they studied every movement he made. Vela stepped forward, her presence commanding. "These are the witnesses," she said. "They will judge not by words, but by actions." The bond is not only about loyalty. It is about proving your worth through deeds. Aaron swallowed. He had already acted in battle, but he felt small in front of the tall, armored warriors. His human size and unfamiliar form made him appear fragile compared to their strength. Yet he had survived. And perhaps that was enough. The oldest warrior, a stern figure named Talvek, stepped forward. His deep blue armor shone under the hall lights, and his voice carried authority. Human, you acted with courage today. You faced danger without hesitation. You used knowledge and observation to protect the station and its people. Few could do as you did. Few would even try. Aaron's heart raced. He had expected criticism, maybe even dismissal. But here, he was being recognized. He felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with pride alone. It was the acknowledgement that he had earned a place, however small, in a culture far older and stronger than his own. Vela watched silently. Her staff rested at her side, her eyes sharp. He is my bond partner, she said simply. His courage is his own, but it is tied to me. He proved that even a human, with no prior training, can become part of our tradition if they act with purpose and respect. Another warrior, younger but no less imposing, stepped closer. We have seen many warriors rise and fall. Today, we have seen a human rise beside a Shelvek warrior. That is unusual. That is, honorable. Aaron looked at the floor, overwhelmed. He wanted to speak, to deny praise, to say it was luck. But deep inside, he knew it was not only luck. He had thought, acted, and adapted. He had combined what he knew with what Vela had taught him. That combination had turned the tide of the battle. Vela nodded once. Let this recognition be a lesson. The bond is not a curse, nor is it a punishment. It is a partnership. One learns from the other. One strengthens the other. Today, he has shown that even a human can bring value where none was expected. Aaron raised his head and met her gaze. The words sank in slowly. For weeks, he had been afraid of the bond, afraid of the expectations, afraid of failing. Today, he had done more than survive. He had earned respect. Talvek, the elder, extended a hand toward him. Human, let it be known that Aaron of Earth has acted with honor in the presence of the Shelvek. He is recognized not for his size, nor for his strength, but for his courage and cleverness. The bond he shares with Vela is now recognized by all of us. Aaron hesitated, then accepted the gesture. The handshake was simple, but it carried weight. He felt the approval of the Shelvek warriors flow into him, quiet and steady. Vela placed her hand lightly on his shoulder. You did well, she said softly. Her voice was low, almost private, yet it carried meaning that resonated with him. This recognition is just the beginning. You will face greater challenges. But now you know that even when fear is strong, action can make a difference. Aaron nodded slowly. I understand, he whispered. The truth of the words felt heavy, real, and grounding. The warriors stepped back, and the hall returned to its usual rhythm. Aaron and Vela remained together, walking through the corridors side by side. The station crew gave them quiet nods as they passed, aware of the bond's significance. Even the humans, who had been unsure about Vela's people, looked at Aaron with curiosity and respect. As they reached their chamber, Aaron finally allowed himself to sit. His body ached from the long day, but his mind was alive. For the first time, he saw the bond not as a burden, but as a path forward. Vela stood silently, looking at him. Today proved something, she said. Strength is not only in muscle. Courage is not only in battle. Knowledge, observation, and quick thinking are weapons as sharp as any blade. You have begun to understand that, human. Aaron nodded. I think I understand a little. I still feel small, but I see now that I can help. Vela smiled faintly. Good. That is what matters. The bond grows not from fear, but from action and trust. Today, you have taken a step toward both. He looked around the chamber, seeing the faint blue glow of the carvings on the wall. The symbol of their bond shone softly. For weeks, it had been a reminder of obligation and fear. Now, it carried a new meaning. It was a sign of recognition, of achievement, of growth. Aaron leaned back, exhausted but thoughtful. He remembered the battle, the clever moves that had stopped the raiders, and Vela's nod of approval. He realized that even though he had been scared, he had acted with purpose. That purpose had earned him respect. Vela moved closer and placed the bond plate they had prepared earlier on the table. "This is the symbol of your partnership," she explained. "It marks that your courage is recognized, and that you are tied to me not only by law, but by honor." Aaron touched it gently. The cold metal was heavy in his hand, but not oppressive. Instead, it reminded him of what he had achieved and what he could become. "That was the first real test," Vela said. "There will be more. But you must remember today. You proved that even the smallest, weakest, or untrained can have value if they act with heart and mind. That is the essence of honor." Aaron nodded. "I will remember. I will try harder. I want to keep proving myself." Vela studied him for a long moment, then gave a slight nod. "Good. That is what I expect. Courage is born from action, not fear. Wisdom is born from learning, not from avoiding danger. You are beginning to grow." For the first time since the bond began, Aaron allowed himself to feel pride. Not arrogance, not self-importance, but pride in having faced fear, acted wisely, and been recognized for it. He realized that the bond with Vela was no longer simply a duty imposed upon him. It was a partnership. A challenge. A path to something greater than he had imagined. The station had returned to a quiet rhythm, but for Aaron, nothing was the same. He had survived the raider attack, earned recognition from the Shelvek warriors, and proven himself as Vela's bond partner. He felt stronger, more confident, yet he knew this was only the beginning. Vela stood by the observation deck, looking out into the endless stars. Aaron joined her quietly. The hum of the station was gentle, a stark contrast to the chaos of recent days. He noticed the calm in her stance, the way she carried herself with quiet strength. He had come to admire her not only as a warrior but as someone who had guided him, challenged him, and believed in him when he could not believe in himself. "You have grown," Vela said, not looking at him, her voice calm but firm. "Not only in skill, but in understanding the bond. Courage, cleverness, respect, these are the true markers of a partner. Strength of body matters less than strength of mind." Aaron nodded. "I have learned more than I imagined. I never thought I could face danger, let alone help stop raiders. But I see now that fear is not the end. It is only the start." Vela finally looked at him, her eyes softening. "Good. That understanding will guide you far more than any weapon. And remember, a bond is not one-sided. I, too, learn from you. Your perspective, your mind, your courage, they shape how I act." Aaron felt a warmth he had never experienced. He had once believed the bond was a trap, a chain he could not escape. Now he saw it differently. It was a partnership. Together, they were stronger than apart. Over the next days, their training continued, but it was no longer only about survival or basic skills. Aaron began to anticipate Vela's movements in practice, learning to complement her strikes, block paths, and protect openings. She taught him not only how to fight but how to think like a warrior. He began to see patterns, weaknesses, and possibilities that were invisible to most others. One afternoon, as they sparred, Vela paused mid-motion. "You have improved," she said. "Your mind is quicker, your decisions sharper. Soon, you will anticipate threats before they reach me. That is what a true partner does." Aaron smiled faintly, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. "I still have a long way to go," he admitted. "Every day is a step forward," Vela replied. "Even now, you contribute more than you realize. Your first trial proved that. Today, you prove that growth is possible. Tomorrow, you will do more." Aaron looked at the stars again, their cold light stretching endlessly across the void. He thought about the path ahead. The bond was no longer a burden. It was a responsibility, a challenge, and an opportunity all at once. He felt ready to face whatever might come next, whether it was danger, duty, or discovery. Days passed. The station returned to routine, but whispers of the bond between the human and the Shelvek warrior spread quietly. Crew members and warriors alike observed Aaron with newfound respect. He moved with purpose, acted with careful thought, and always stayed close to Vela, ready to assist. One evening, after training, Vela led him to the top of the station where a small garden had been built. Plants from various worlds grew under soft artificial lights. The smell of green and soil was a rare comfort amidst the metal and steel of the station. "This is a place of reflection," Vela said. "Even warriors need it. You have learned much in a short time, but growth also comes from calm observation and understanding. Stand here, breathe, and see beyond yourself." Aaron closed his eyes. For the first time, he allowed himself to feel calm and proud. The garden, the stars, Vela's quiet presence, they reminded him that the bond was not only about action but about connection. About trust. About learning and growing together. "You've changed," Vela said softly. "Not only in skill, but in perspective. You no longer fear what is unknown. You meet it with thought, preparation, and courage. That is rare in any warrior, human or Shelvek." Aaron opened his eyes. "I still feel small sometimes. But I also feel capable. I see now that even a human can make a difference." Vela nodded. "Yes. And the bond proves it. You acted when it mattered, thought when it mattered, and grew when it mattered. That is the true meaning of honor. Not glory, not strength alone, but action and understanding." Aaron's heart felt lighter than it had in weeks. The fear, the confusion, the sense of being trapped, all of it had faded into a steady determination. The bond was no longer something that forced him into a role. It was a guide, a teacher, and a challenge that would push him to become better than he had ever imagined. They sat together in silence, watching the stars. The station hummed quietly around them. Aaron thought of the first moment he had touched Vela's armor, the shock of her gaze, the fear and confusion he had felt. That moment had changed everything. What had seemed like an accident had become the beginning of a new life. "I never thought cleaning a suit of armor would lead to this," Aaron said quietly, a small smile forming. Vela looked at him with the hint of a smile herself. "Neither did I. But destiny often takes the smallest actions and turns them into something great. That is why we respect tradition and honor. One choice, one act, can change the path of many lives." Aaron nodded, understanding more than ever the weight and meaning of the bond. It was more than duty. More than fear. It was trust, respect, and partnership. It was courage and cleverness, action and learning. "I am ready," Aaron said after a long pause. "Ready for whatever comes next. I will not fail you." Vela's eyes softened. "I do not expect perfection. I expect effort, courage, and thought. Today, you have shown all three. Tomorrow, you will show more. And together, we will face it all." For the first time since the bond began, Aaron felt a sense of purpose. He was no longer just a human caught in a tradition he did not understand. He was a partner, a bonded companion, and a growing part of something greater than himself. The station around them was alive with quiet activity, the hum of machinery, the distant voices of workers, and the soft lights of the stars. Aaron and Vela remained on the observation deck, silent and calm, ready to face whatever challenges the future held. And in that quiet moment, Aaron realized something. The bond had given him more than fear, duty, or challenge. It had given him growth, understanding, and a place where he mattered. A small smile formed on his face. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, but he no longer felt lost. He had a path, a purpose, and a partner.